in a second. Wonderful.
Awesome. Let's get started. So, just a quick preview through our agenda. I'd love to just cover all the ritual updates on the surface level. I would love to talk a little bit of developing your ritual team for your chapter to then take you towards initiation, prepare you the best that we can. We'll be covering some important hub information, pretty much everything you need to know, in addition to the regalia chunk information, which is something that you receive that is shipped to you and then you ship into other chapters. Some general reminders, and like we said, some time for question and answers. At any time, we'd like to make this as informal as we can. Please unmute yourself if you have any questions. Please feel free to utilize the chat function. We are here to answer all your questions, as this is some time for you all to kind of go back to the name of the webinar. Are you initiation ready? And hopefully you are by the end of this webinar. All right, to just kick us off, we do have a temporary ritual book. So it will look just like this. It is the ritual book that needs to be utilized at this point. If you have any questions about what do I do with the gold ritual book that we received previously, that ritual book can no longer be utilized. So what you'll need to do with that ritual book is, yes, definitely get rid of it, whatever that means. We will be collecting them at any national events. So if you all would like to bring them with you, central office staff can take those from you. All right, some of the biggest changes within our ritual, one thing that definitely pertains to initiation is it is no longer permitted, or you should not need to pin anything to any individual. So our ritual states that you are able to hand pin or a badge to the individuals participating in the ceremony. So that is one of the biggest change. Second additional change that is permanent, like important for all our collegiate chapters, is that there is a guide to our ritual within the ritual book. So please be on the lookout for that. It is right before the ceremonies within the ritual book. Everything is stated in the table of continents. So take a look at that. Please read through it. That is one of the biggest tips that we do want to provide to everyone. And like I said, I think we already covered the additional items. All right. Now you're like, okay, I have my ritual books, or actually, let me go back to the previous one. If you don't have your ritual books, how do you receive said books? Once you are preparing for the pledging ceremony, you order your crown and deltas. We will be shipping out the 8 ritual books to each chapter. Now, if you have the question, we already ordered our crown and deltas, we have enough, we still need our ritual books, please feel free to send an email to hub@dsp.org to receive those books. All right, moving now into developing a ritual team. Your chapter chancellor should oversee the ritual team. They are a part of that committee of, all right, who is partaking in, the 8 positions for initiation ritual. One of the things that we stated on here, ritual team is not position bound. While there are some chapter officer positions that usually president, headmaster, VP finance, treasurer, that might seem to correlate. It is not position bound. What we say is if you have a brother that is great at memorizing things or is able to tell a story with their voice or project, or are really good at standing in front of a crowd, look out to those brothers and ask them to partake in the ritual team. We always say, hey, like, get volunteers. If anyone is interested in being a part of it, ask those brothers and ask them to participate, especially because we know that our officers are pretty busy with everything else that has to do with the chapter. Sometimes it's nice to ask a big brother, hey, like, are you willing to participate in our future brother's initiation ceremony? Another thing is some of those graduating seniors, maybe somebody that doesn't have an officer position that has held a specific role in the past, that somebody that already has some of that experience, they could absolutely be a vital part within the ritual team. As you are finalizing the list of your 8 members, distribute a ritual book to each participating member. Ensure that they do bring the ritual book to each chapter meeting so that you do have those on hand when necessary. However, it is important for them to like review every single part of their a part of the ritual for the initiation, but allow them time to review it, kind of, have that time alone with the ritual book. Another thing to keep in mind is to create a practice schedule. Practice, practice, practice. Individually, as a group, as much as you can, if you're able to develop your ritual team now for, your later initiation date, we highly recommend that. So you're able to kind of, know what part goes after which part. And so you're not necessarily at initiation kind of looking around and not sure who needs to speak after anybody else. We also do recommend rehearsing in your set initiation room, just so you know the layout, you know how you're walking in, you know how everything's being set up, and you know your way around. If lights or seating arrangements that you need to change, just so you are aware of how everything's going to be laid out for the day of the actual initiation. And we do, have to keep a plan B in the back of our planned out, just for any scheduling conflicts, or if you do need to have an additional pledging initiation ceremony. So just have alternative plans for the rooms and potential times. All right, now your actual initiation. We say communication is key. Communication with your ritual team, communication in regards to, hey, we want everyone to be here at least an hour in advance. Maybe you do a quick walkthrough, not necessarily a last practice a day of. You do want to give yourself some time to just, all right, prepare prior to, but then have everything in place a day of. Communicate the times where you want all the brothers and the pledges to be there, and emphasize the importance that every brother should be in attendance for this ceremony. It's great to see everyone, cheering on our future brothers and just being there and being the support. So communicating that well in advance. You should know your initiation date as of now. And if you don't, Sarah will get into that a little bit more in a little bit. Discuss your expectations with your ritual reviewer. So going back to the CMP item of, well, we need to submit a memorized initiation. Who is reviewing our initiation? Communicate that with your district director, with your chapter advisor, if they are a member of the organization. Hey, like these are expectations from them. How are you, preparing to meet those expectations? We'll go a little bit into the initiation rubric in a little bit, but just have those things in place. Be sure to provide your reviewer a date, time, obviously remind them of the dress that is expected for this specific event. Now, if you have a question, we don't have a reviewer. We do not have a district director, or our chapter advisor is not a Delta Sig. Connect with your regional vice president. Your volunteers are going to be able to provide you somebody to be there and review the initiation ceremony. And if everything else doesn't really work out, feel free to send us, the central office staff, a quick email, and we'll help you as much as we can. Now, prior to the initiation, we also say review the 7 steps to the effective ritual memorization, which some of the items are covered within this webinar, of communicating, of practicing, of ensuring that each member has a ritual book, of giving yourself some time and communicating with your ritual reviewer. But that goes a little bit more in depth, with which we're happy to share at the end of this session. And lastly, like I said, review the initiation rubric, which is located on the website in addition to the CMP guide. This outline, and it's a great starting point where you can have the conversation with your district director, whoever your reviewer is going to be. As you all see, that is highlighted on this rubric, is the approval of the requirement at the end of the day is at the discretion of the verifier. They are the ones that say, hey, like, all right, if you get a little bit of prompts from the treasurer, a few are fine, but I don't want you looking at the treasure for each line. Another thing on here, the missed words. If you miss a and or that, that's totally fine. But if you miss large chunks, maybe we have a conversation to have. Nonverbal engagement. I think the huge thing is being able to enunciate what is stated within a ritual book rather than, having a book in front of you where nobody else is able to really see you and really be a part of the experience of our initiation. And that kind of goes into the presentation. So is the team prepped and prepared for the ceremony? Does it look like you're not being rushed? You have everything in place. You're as a team working together, things like that. So like I said, please feel free to review the rubric at any time. It is located on our website. And ultimately, it is up to your verifier. So we can't stress that enough. But have a practice run with your verifier. And in that instance, maybe it's the week prior to, you walk through it and your verifier might be able to provide you some tips, or hey, if this happens next week, I will not approve it, or yes, this is a great presentation of our initiation, I will be able to approve it at this stage. So again, communication is key, and keep those lines of communication open.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jasmine. So we're going to go now into the hub information. So kind of behind the scenes, what you all need to do to ensure that during initiation that you're getting everything in regards to CMP and the hub up to date and completed. That's going to first start with your dashboard. So this is actually even before the ceremonies. You want to make sure you're checking for pledging and initiation your badge inventories. If none of you know how to do that, when you log into the hub, you'll have a blue button on the left side of the screen that says dashboard. And when you click on it, you'll see a screen very similar to the screenshot on this presentation slide, where there's a lot of different things, your basic info, finances. But for you all, you're going to want to click on that pledging and initiation tab. From there, you're going to be able to download your current pledge education program and even look at past pledge education programs. But then in addition to that, you're also able to see your pledge manual and badge inventories. I know Jasmine and I can definitely attest at working at central office, we get a lot of inquiries surrounding pledge manuals and badges. Definitely want to set the record straight here. Your inventory in hand is going to want to match what numbers you have on this screen. And there is no one at central office behind the screen typing in these numbers. These are actually going to be automatically updated anytime you all buy supplies or inventory, or anytime you report any pledges or initiates. So whenever you're in doubt, feel free to check these numbers first. And if there's any discrepancies, maybe you have fewer than what is listed, let us know, as well as if there are more than what you have listed, also please let us know, because again, we will work with you to make sure that there's alignment in both of those. But in addition to that, if you actually hop one more tab over to the finances tab, this is where you're going to see your initiation fees get invoiced to the chapter. This is almost an instantaneous thing, right? When you report your initiates, you'll see an initiation fee populate for each of those initiates that you take on. And this will include faculty initiates. So again, make sure you're keeping an eye on those, and like any invoice, paying them regularly and not allowing them to get past due. But again, you can find both of those resources here on the dashboard tab. Kind of migrating a little bit away from the dashboard tab is going to be the membership tab. So when you click on members, you should see all of the members within your chapter. I think in another webinar is when we really discuss making sure those are accurate and up to date. But when it does come to your recruits that turn into pledges and hopefully soon to be initiates, you want the same thing to happen. For that is going to include making sure that you report your initiation. So when you have all your pledges in good standing, reporting this initiation report within 14 days of your initiation ceremony. This is essential in letting us know, yes, this initiation happened, and also making sure that you fully mark those people as fully fledged members of this organization. So a lot of things will or won't happen whether this report goes through. So it's crucial that you all do it within this time frame, especially also to get the CMP credit. This report's really easy to do. I would say, the president and VPCO will most certainly have access to do it, along with a couple other officers, such as the pledge educator. You'll see different hyperlinks at the top of the membership tab, where it'll say, similar to reporting pledging ceremony, there will be one that says report initiation. And from there, you'll have 3 simple options between all of your members. Yes, this person initiated, no, this person did not initiate, or no, but they plan to at a later date. We'll talk about the later date in another slide, but this is important, just letting us know what exactly happened, or, okay, if this person didn't continue with pledging, okay, great, we're not going to, give you an initiation fee and mark that person as a member. So again, make sure you're clicking the right bubbles for each person. And then lastly, the forms tab. So you use the forms tab for everything in the hub, essentially filling things out and getting things completed. So very similarly, you're going to be doing some things for initiation here as well. Some of those things include your initiation ritual memorization form. So like Jasmine had mentioned, making sure you have those open and honest conversations with your reviewer, getting those expectations down. You're also going to want to make sure who exactly is going to be watching to see if you all are memorizing initiation, because in this form, it's going to simply be asking for a name and email of whoever your reviewer was. So then that gets sent to your district director or other local leader for approval. So again, making sure you have that name and that information down pat is going to be crucial. And then lastly, your regalia shipping instructions. Marissa Smith, who is like the head of our regalia, maybe some of you have already interacted with her at some point in the last few terms. She's going to be in constant contact with you all in regards to the regalia shipment tracking schedule. But in order to get the the necessary and crucial information to getting you a trunk for initiation, you will need to fill out this shipping instruction and have one of your officers getting that trunk and receiving it so that they are able to bring it for your initiation. So definitely be on the lookout for these things. And as always, if you're not seeing one of these things or are unsure how to fill something out, that is exactly why we are employed. Please reach out to us, hub@dsp.org, or even consultants@dsp.org. But then we're going to go on into regalia trunk information. So see, good segue. So once you fill out that regalia shipping information, you're going to get a regalia trunk. Maybe you have one already from the last term, but most likely you might not. So when you receive one, what is going to happen? You're going to get a trunk full of a lot of stuff. And maybe if you're new to the regalia team or ritual team, this might be a foreign concept to you, but you're going to be sent a lot of different materials used for initiation. And every single item within that trunk is going to correlate directly to the ritual and will detail orient what you need to use it for, who should be using it, and where everything should be going. Make sure you're reviewing your emails that are sent by the regalia coordinator, which we said is Marissa Smith. Great person. She constantly is working with chapters on any regalia needs. So be on the lookout for any emails from her. But in addition to that, pack items correctly to avoid damages. We have a little excerpt of what should be in every single regalia trunk, which is a step-by-step guideline. And I think Jasmine's actually going to hold it up here too. A step-by-step for how to fold things, how to place things, and exactly where everything in the trunk goes so that it can avoid being damaged and not making it to the next chapter. Unfortunately, Jasmine and I do pack regalia trunks every year, and it's very sad to see so many things sometimes damaged or poorly packed. We really don't want you all to be subject to charge for that or being invoiced for anything that is damaged. So it really is important not only to pack items correctly, but also submitting inventory sheets, because more likely than not, you're not the only chapter that's going to be receiving trunk number 7. So making sure that everything was good to go with you, so that when you send it to the next chapter, we can then kind of see where things went wrong and don't have to invoice everybody. So again, keeping those things up to date, and you will get an inventory sheet within the regalia trunk, as well as from all your communications with our regalia coordinator. And then lastly, understanding your trunk route. I know we'll talk about additional ceremonies here also in a second, but should something happen with initiation where maybe you have to have an additional ceremony, or you have a revision that you need to make, maybe the room is no longer available, kind of like what Jasmine was saying, where having those backup plans and you have to revert to one of your backup plans, making sure you understand your trunk routes is going to be crucial, because if you have to send a trunk over to another chapter, you could completely break the route itself if you all go against that route, and that could be subject to charge and all that stuff. So again, when in doubt, feel free to communicate with our regalia coordinator to make sure that you all are able to switch things around or adjust accordingly so that you don't impact anyone else's initiation or ability to get regalia. Couple reminders. So again, talked about a lot of stuff here, so we're going to try to recap it and also allow for some time for some questions. But first things first, all comprehensive final exams must be completed prior to initiation. So the big thing with that is, again, it's going to be very similar to completing the recruit profiles in order to report, pledges. Same thing. We want to make sure everyone is completely done with their pledge education program modules. They've completed their final exam and they are all good to go. That kind of ties into our next point of no fraternity activity for pledges 24 hours prior to initiation. This is a policy. This is something we really take seriously and urge you to take seriously as well. Make sure everything is good and clear and good to go. Again, it's good to do things more in advance because technological difficulties have happened and can happen. And we want to make sure we're able to help you when there's still time to do so. So again, make sure you follow those policies and those rules while also making sure all pledges complete everything and are fully in good standing and ready for initiation. Make sure your inventories on the dashboard match what you have on hand. So similar to what I just said, if those numbers don't match up or you feel like you have a bunch of badges or a bunch of other things that you don't really know where those things came from, definitely talk to one of us. We're happy to help you and help you navigate that to make sure the chapter is not ordering too much or too little and maybe jeopardizing their credit for something. And then lastly, need an additional ceremony date, please let us know. This is something that happens a lot. Sometimes if a pledge can't make it to initiation, or you have faculty initiates that maybe can only make it at a select time. Again, these things happen and you won't be punished by any means or anything like that. More likely than not, we're able to make something work, but you will need to let us know, because when you report initiates and you report initiation, the system only takes into account your designed initiation date. When you let us know, we're able to add an additional initiation date to your calendar, so you're able to hit that report initiation button again. Because if you say Sarah didn't initiate but plans to at a later date, and then you don't add another date, I will kind of be in this limbo stage of never leaving pledge in good standing. So never a good thing to have. Please let us know, and we're always happy to help add those things and navigate through what needs to happen. But again, keep all these things in mind, and like Jasmine said, practice, practice, practice. It is never too early to start practicing for initiation and getting comfortable with all those words. Again, and as always, if you ever have any questions for us, we're here and happy to answer them. But that does take us into our last slide here, our Q&A portion. So as promised, I am going to stop the recording session for any ritual specific questions, but for recording's sake, I do want to thank you all for joining in on our webinar. And then here we are going to stop the recording.